No OneDrive. We don't want you.
It's funny how it's like, it just asks. It's like, oh, remind me in 3 days. And then it's like, this is why no one likes you, Windows.
Speaking of which, I have been down a very dark rabbit hole the past 18 months. I have one Windows machine left in my house, and it's my wife's work laptop where they have group policies and whatever that we're not gonna fight with. I've also been trying to run my own things for the internet because I'm tired of, like, I used Notion really strongly for about 6 months, and then I was like, wait, I don't have any files. I don't have anything I can do with. And those kinds of things are always churning in my head every time I use a service. How does one get started without acquiring a magical box of wonders that not everyone has access to? How does one get started kind of curating their own services and experiences?
It really starts with like a home lab.
Yeah.
But a home lab can be really modest. You can start with just like a mini PC, like a $200-$300 mini PC. You can start with a Raspberry Pi. And you sort of learn how services work in that context. Like, what does it take to host my own Notion server? Or like Obsidian. I use Obsidian for note taking. And Obsidian can sync, like it has a cloud service, and that's fine. You can give them money, and that's all fine. But it also has like Git integration. And so like you can use something for Git. The problem is that you don't want to open like stuff that you put on your own system. You don't necessarily want to open it up directly to the internet.
Right.
So then the question becomes, how do I get at my stuff? It's just not very convenient if I have to be at home in order to access everything. And there's lots of different technologies to basically give you a VPN back to your house. But, you know, just using this terminology has already turned off a lot of people because it's like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. Like, I just want it to be plug and play. I don't want it to do anything. And folks like us have put a lot of effort into making it more and more and more and more plug and play. And so probably over the next couple of years, it will be as easy as people expect it to be. Like, you will have something that is equivalent to the Netflix experience or the Google Docs experience or the Office 365 experience without depending on the cloud services. And the first thing for that in my mind is just playing with things in a home lab context and understanding how those things go together. And then the first thing that you get to is connectivity.
Right.
And right now, the easy button for connectivity is Tailscale. And Tailscale is freemium. Like, you can use, there's free and then you can upgrade. But Tailscale is built on an open source technology called WireGuard. WireGuard is very good. And there are alternatives to Tailscale. There are competing services for Tailscale. And there are things that you can 100% self-host that function like Tailscale. You can get a $5 a month instance on Linode where you pay for your own hosting, and it's out in the cloud, and they can do backups and everything else.
Right.
And that can also be a gateway to your home. So like your phone connects to that $5 instance, and your home server connects to that $5 instance, and any other machines, your laptop, whatever, connect to that $5 instance, and then they can all exchange files. And the easiest, like Google and Apple have really gone out of their way to make it as difficult as possible to not use their cloud services.
Right.
But something as basic as just like, we have this weird collective amnesia where it's like, I just want to share a file. Like, why can't I just give you a file? Why does that have to be hard? And the answer is it's not. It's not hard at all. It's been made deliberately artificially hard so that it's like, well, you know, this is less painful than just paying $5 a month for extra storage.
Yeah.
But notice the storage has never gotten cheaper. It's like 2 terabytes of storage on Google. When they first had it, it was like, this is an amazing deal. Now it's a terrible deal. You can literally buy a 2 terabyte drive for what it costs to store it in the cloud.
Yeah.
And Google doesn't guarantee that they're not going to lose your files. See also our forum where it's rare, but they do lose your stuff. Your stuff does become corrupted, and there's nothing you can do unless you have another extra backup somewhere.
I fell. This is really going back in my archives if anyone's been around this long. I fell for the mirage in the desert that was Amazon's unlimited cloud storage when they launched it, Amazon Drive. I put, at the time it was a lot, I guess, compared to what we just built out in the first video over on Wendell's channel, Level 1 Techs. I put like 10 terabytes, no, it was like 8 terabytes of my entire history of video at that point on their service. It took weeks to upload. I verified watching, like they had a little tracker to see how much storage you were using. And of course, people on the subreddits were like, look how much, I put up 100 terabytes on there. And people were like, that's why it's going to go away. But I watched and it was like, okay, you've consumed 6, 8 terabytes. Then they started shutting it down. And I went to download everything. And according to Amazon, my files did not exist. I got a bunch of empty directories. And that was right when I was experiencing a RAID failure. So I was like, I can upload it and then download it. And it was all gone. The storage capacity was supposedly used, but all I could get back from them was empty folders.
Yay!
Lots of experimentation to go into learning the processes. What do you think would be the easy, low-hanging fruits for things to start replacing that you would normally pay for? Obviously, we have media streaming, Jellyfin Plex, that kind of thing. That's been the thing for a few years. But going a step beyond that, what should people start trying to like sub out their subscription services with?
I like Image for family photos and videos, and that might be enough of what you need for the motivation to get your family into like, oh, this is actually really nice. You can start hosting family photos and videos with Image, and it's really quite good in terms of the stuff that it offers and stuff that it does. So that is easy. Jellyfin is really fun for hosting media. You get into some, it's like, oh, what's going on with it? And then, I don't know. But file services and keeping your notes in sync and that sort of stuff is great. For me personally, just being able to keep track of notes and like making notes as we were putting this thing together, we hit a couple of oddities and it's like, oh, I need to write that down. Right. I need to capture that so that I can put that into a how-to because other people will run into that too. And I'm surprised that it's broken and new in different ways than it was a year or two ago. And it's like, okay, I should probably document what we tripped over because other people will trip over that. And I can respond when people show up in the forum. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is how this works. Like tools for knowledge capture that you can count on, I think is really good.
Yeah.
And things don't really change over time because, like Evernote, for a while there, Evernote was amazing. And then they changed it. And it was less awesome in the ways that they changed it.
Yes.
And so it feels like a rug pull. With a lot of the open source things, if there are major changes, I guarantee you somebody takes it and
forks it.
Yeah, forks it. And there's somebody is going to continue on philosophically the way that, you are. And then so that is perfectly reasonable thing. And that's what it comes to when you're thinking about these things in 5 and 10 year timescales.
Yeah.
That those don't really survive the product. I mean, look at how much Windows has evolved, just Windows 11. And it's like, I'm not sure that we're going where I want to go today.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who are like, with various things in their lives, but they're like, I really don't think I can learn something else, but I cannot see myself using Windows 11 moving forward. And it's like, yep, it's that time. I
mean, I've even seen it like, Apple, for all of the criticism that I can heap onto Apple, Steve Jobs had a vision of what he wanted the end user experience to be, and he was relentlessly ruthless. And part of it was because he didn't really have a deep technical understanding, but he was just like, this is how this has to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of the engineers were like, well, Steve, we can't, the hardware isn't built to do it that way. And he's like, I don't care. Let's build it to do it that way.
Right.
And so they did. And that was commercially successful for them because of that philosophy and that kind of thing. But now Apple's entered this weird thing where, the iPhone and the iPad have done really well, and now they're starting to try to bleed over that kind of experience on desktop operating systems. And it's like everything on Mac OS looks to me like it is made for a giant finger as opposed to a precision pointer.
Yeah.
And there's a regression for that because there's not, and I think the people inside Apple realize that, as evidenced by the executive exodus that we've seen. And so all of that's a lot of words to say another way. It's not going to get better until we, the people, take control of what we want our computing experience to be. And we have someone that has, like an open source person could have the vision for this is what this needs to be. We're going to build it.
Yeah. A lot of people get really stuck in how things are right now versus how they could be in a few years. Because, I think when I first heard of Proton in like 2018, I had you on a video call and I was like, hey, let's talk about this. And then I tried it and it was like, I see the potential, but none of this really works yet. And we are now at the point of doing that with ARM emulating PC games with Valve's investment in Fex and things like that. Like I got the little Ain Thor and I was running DMC Devil May Cry from my Steam library and it was busted, but it worked. And that very much reminds me of where we were just a few short years ago when Valve started kicking the can down the road for gaming on Linux. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that progress. And it's not going to be, like, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand Microsoft's global empire of business at this point, the end user of Windows has no influence over their bottom line anymore. Therefore, voting with your wallet is less changing Microsoft, at least probably until it's too late, and more making the next thing, which is probably Linux based in some capacity, that much better. Like, we're not going to fix Windows. We're just going to make the next thing happen.
Yeah, I think Microsoft is more concerned. Like, if you look at what they've done to the Start menu and Edge, and now even Notepad, they really, like, they need certain metrics. They need is like, here is an idea that we have. We're going to execute on this idea.
Right,
and then when no one likes that idea, they modify the operating system to sort of corner you into doing this thing, because obviously you're the user and you're an idiot and you're not using these fancy AI features in Notepad. And because of that, the line goes up on their dashboard. So like if you have a really, dumb dashboard that you're showing to shareholders or people that are interested in the bottom line, it's like, look, all these people are using Bing, when the reality is that the stats that are showing up on the Bing dashboard are people that are fighting with the Start menu. And the more that you fight,
how many people searched media player in Bing?
The more engagement that you have. There was a screenshot on Twitter that I retweeted where somebody put in terminal in the search, and the first search result was the obscure Terminal movie, not even the Tom Hanks Terminal movie, but like these. And I was like, this is the best result for Terminal, and it's like, really?
Is it
really, Microsoft? Really?
Yeah.
These are not things that are real high on the priority. The link bug. There's a bug with LNK files that has been exploited for like 8 years. Microsoft only just got around to fixing that. GitHub. Famously, there's a large corporation that stopped using GitHub because in actions that run automatically when you commit code to GitHub, which is really useful from a developer perspective, sleep has been broken for years. So like if you have a script and you want it to sleep for a little while, it doesn't do that. So there's a function called safe sleep, and the safe sleep just puts the processor into a hard loop. And so it just chews up a lot of processor for a while and then continues on. And so safe sleep sleeps an indeterminate amount of time, and there's some bugs. And so some company was like, okay, we've rolled out all these AI features on GitHub, but we literally can't fix sleep. I'm out. So because everything is all metrics based. You can, if you really want to extrapolate, is like, are key performance indicators the reason for the downfall of society? Because it's like, what's the key performance indicator here? And it's like, oh, Bing stats or dashboard or whatever. And it's just like, oh, we're not interested in that. And I think Gabe, walked in when Windows Vista happened, and he was like, this is not a direction that we want to go in. And that is what started the snowball. But it took, to your point, it took from Windows Vista until now to have something viable. But that's what you have when you have a small team that is laser focused and will not get distracted with nonsense.
And that's a big point, circling back to having your own, even if it's a mini PC, like tiny home lab to start experimenting with. As much as you may have seen me like vocally been like, okay, no one use Windows. Let's just delete it. Everyone go away. Like, for your security's sake, in terms of learning things and not just obliterating your hardware before you know what you're doing. Like, try it out on a spare PC or on a VM or whatever, in terms of Linux, hosting services, whatever. It's important to start building up these skills and experiences rather than reaching a point where like you have no going back. There's a point of no return and you're caught trying to catch up with everyone else. It's, to me, like, now is the time to start digging into this kind of stuff, because I think over the next few years, things are going to continue to get crazier, but also get even better on the Linux front. Like, where do you see the future of like ownership over technology on obviously the indie side of things? Obviously it's going away on corporate side, but like, where do you see these kinds of tech going like in the next few years?
I don't even really see it as like Linux versus Windows or Mac OS or anything like that. I really see it as what part of what I'm experiencing is ephemeral, and what part of it is something that I can count on being here for like 5 or 10 or 15 years. And so, as I'm using my computer and it's like, oh, this is something that I need to hang on to for a long time, I make a deliberate effort to save that in a way that I trust is going to be there for a long time. And that, by definition, that cannot be a cloud service. OneDrive, I've from our user forum and other kinds of stuff, there have been so many horror stories about OneDrive. It's like, OneDrive is useful for a relatively small working set of files, maybe. And synchronizing it between devices, maybe. If I have bothered to, like, say, my great grandma's handwritten recipes, if I have digitized those and organized them into a nice file system and done things with that, does it make sense that I trust OneDrive to store these things that I might not look at, but a few times a year? It's like, oh, it's Thanksgiving. Let's browse through, the collected history of, 17 grandmas worth of recipes and see what's there. It's like OneDrive for that use case, like, it's like, oh, those were cold files. And like you click on the directory for that and it's going to take 17 years to load it and then it's just an awful, terrible experience. Whereas, and it could be, gigabytes or terabytes big. And it's like, I don't trust it to not lose my data. I don't trust it to be a reasonable experience. I don't trust it because time and time and time again, all of these companies have demonstrated that they are not worthy of that level of trust. So it's not really Windows or Linux or Mac OS. It is, what steps do I need to take to preserve this? And versus this other thing is basically ephemeral. I'm going to treat it as if it's ephemeral.
Yeah. I think for me, the question has become, do I have control or ownership of it? Because hosting something like Image, I may break it. I may screw up a port, or like at the moment I've screwed up somehow the way that it detects EXIF data for like the date and time of my photos. So I got photos from 20 years ago showing it's being uploaded yesterday or whatever. But these are things I did. And once I get it going, no one is going to issue an update that I am forced to use that
will break it.
Which will break it or completely change how it looks. Say I'm sharing pictures with my mom and she's like, it's not suddenly going to be liquid classified or something. It's going to be there. And I get to dictate the terms of the exchange. And I think us older-ish folk, we're so used to that for so long, but now we have an entire generation or two of people that kind of grew up without that. And I think we're seeing the consequences of that being stripped away further. And it feels like a real generational divide of trying to be like, this was really important and you didn't need it for a few years, but now we do. And we have to like inject it back in there. But ultimately, I mean, I just want to encourage people to start experimenting and finding something that you're paying any amount of dollars per month for, and seeing if there's something that you can at least have control. And even if you do, like with Obsidian, maybe you do pay them for the support developers. Like that's fine. Maybe you pay them for that cloud thing for Obsidian Sync, but you're doing it for something that you still own the experience that you have locally. You're just paying them for the service of relaying it between your computers. Whereas with iCloud Photos, for example, versus Image, I got nothing. That could just disappear one day. We keep talking about OneDrive. My biggest deal breaker with I ditched everything Xbox related in my house, including what my kid was playing games on, was they made a big push to stop using Xbox related services for your capture clips, and they wanted you to upgrade to OneDrive. Not only did they delete your copies on their services, they delete the copies on your local Xbox of your clips.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of sentimental things of my kid's first year of learning to play video games and Minecraft recorded in clips. Things that don't matter that much, but still mattered to me, that were literally removed from my physical console because I didn't even see the notice to pay for OneDrive. Immediately I'm like, this is getting out of here. My kid is using Bazite. No more.
There's a couple posts on the forum where folks had OneDrive, they accidentally got enrolled in OneDrive somehow on their laptop.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this has pulled all the files from my desktop to my laptop, and that's why I'm out of space on my laptop. Yes. And so they deleted all the files on their laptop, which deleted all the files on their desktop.
I just went to my brother-in-law's apartment yesterday because he got a new desktop. We got on a Costco sale and was setting it up. And I still don't know how he did it, but he somehow threw because by default on Windows 11 now, OneDrive just takes over all of your user folders. And he had a OneDrive account, so he's like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. And it turned his desktop location, the desktop folder, to his external drive with 2 terabytes of files. Then was like, hey, you don't have 2 terabytes of OneDrive space. We're going to delete 3,000 files. And started deleting them to reclaim that space because it somehow, and it took me 3 clicks to fix it. But that's because I knew where it was and I could recover the data. And even when I did it, it was like, okay, you want to delete a terabyte of file since you disabled this as the desktop now. And a normal person might be like, sure. But
yeah,
for a brand new Windows install.
Yeah. To give you an idea, for Apple's sync services, I think are much more coherent than Windows than Microsoft. Microsoft is a poor copy. You can tell the Microsoft design people are all Apple people and they don't understand what they're looking at. And so it just ends up being a poor copy. Uh-huh. But the Apple people are also kind of sociopathic because it actually is very easy with the services Apple already has to synchronize. Like if you have a Mac Mini and a laptop and a phone and iCloud services, it is very easy for Apple to say, hey, we noticed that you've got a 5 terabyte external drive on your Mac Mini. You want us to just move your stuff on iCloud that's more than a year old to your external drive? And there are ways to do that, but they don't make it easy because they want to sell you the service.
Right.
But it could, like this mythological, like self-hosted thing, I really think they should get somebody evangelical at Apple to push this, because then you could sell more Macs. It's like get a Mac Mini that you just stick in a closet. Remember Time Capsule?
Yeah.
And then you got your laptop and everything else. And you can
I would do that. Like
you can synchronize it, and you don't have to pay Apple on a monthly basis. And it doesn't make sense to pay Apple on a monthly basis when you've got 10 or 15 terabytes, which is not an unreasonable amount of storage for videos and home photos. And it's like your working set, you can probably live in a terabyte or two. But when we're talking about 10 or 15 years of files, and you can get to it from your phone, it's like, oh, I do actually want to look at grandma's recipes. And it's like your phone could talk to your Mac Mini at home through the magic of the internet.
The ecosystem.
It doesn't need to be in the cloud.
Yeah.
And from like a liability and infrastructure standpoint, it doesn't make sense for Apple or whoever to spend the money on that kind of cloud service anyway, and having it be more distributed. Like, that is a better designed product. But these companies are not interested in designing a product that is useful to the consumer. They're interested in designing a product that can be used
monthly revenue.
To extract money from. And that's why open source can't not take over the universe. It has to take over the universe, because there is no other option. Because the only people that are interested in building that are folks like us.
Yeah. And like sustainability wise, we can only charge so many people for so many things per month before it's quite literally impossible. I don't know.
Yeah, well, or the cost would go down. I mean, look at Amazon services. Amazon has not gotten really significantly cheaper for what you do for storage or compute or anything else. As quickly, like computing power doubles every 18 months. Okay, great. Does that mean that my Amazon costs halve every 18 months? No. Well, what's going on there?
That's what I always think about with old game servers, where they're like, yeah, sorry guys, we just can't afford to keep running Unreal Tournament 2004 anymore. And I'm like, really? I bet you have 2 Windows 98 rigs running under Jimmy's desk in the intern closet. You can't afford to keep those running anymore? Are you sure? Just go kick it every couple months. Like, it's fine. But appreciate you talking with me. Go check out Wendell's. I'll have a little video about it too. But we put together this beautiful Storinator.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you've got your own build video for this storage server, so you should check that out.
Got more technical stuff if you want to dive in on the server side. And
yeah, the great thing with all that is that all of the stuff that you want to do, you can run as a virtual machine. And so like it's got its mission critical mission, but you can run experiments and do whatever you want with virtual machines.
And so if I break it, I just delete it and make a new one, and it doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah, exactly. And that is how things should be. That is the order of things. Yeah. It's pretty nice. Fun times. Calories.